Well, the part got here for that Panasonic CRT, so we're going to pop it in here and see whether this one's going to fix it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not. The IC was certainly burnt. We saw a hole in it, but guaranteed there's going to be something else wrong with this set. And we're going to have to track that one down and find out what other part has failed to restore the picture. Let's check it out. So I got the part in. Probably cost them like $1 to ship the part to me, but yet they charge like $5 for the parts for shipping. Let's just see what arrived. That's it there. Got it from KP Components. There's my replacement. Hopefully it's going to work. I pretty much, well, it's a different chip, but it's supposed to be the substitute for it. It's got an N on the end of it, but I think it's got an N on this one. So the original was a 75 or 7845. This is 7845N, which is supposed to be the same chip. If it isn't, then I'll be pissed, but it's supposed to be the same chip. There might be other parts. I pretty much to show you that there's probably other things wrong with this in addition to this. There's likely a resistor that's burnt up and maybe some caps that are also bad that caused it. Either capacitors caused it or just the heating cooling and cracked that solder connection, which then blew the chip, which is very common. But first things first, we'll change the chip, see if we get any deflection. If I get deflection, then I can look at the caps and see whether there's any with high ESR and change them out. If I don't get deflection, then I got to start looking for an open resistor somewhere on here. But there's a good chance that there is an open resistor, just because when those short, they have a tendency to take other parts with them. Put some heatsink compound onto the back of the IC to keep it cool. And we'll install the IC. Hardest part here is getting the nut on the back of the screw. And hold the nut in place with some pliers and then tighten down the screw. Not a lot of room to work in this set. I think I got it in tight enough now. Now to solder down the new IC. Again, I'll remove the tube socket there just to protect it. So there's a new IC installed right there. Time to reinstall the video board. Reconnect the tube, and now I can plug it in and see if I get a raster. That'll at least let me know whether I've got other problems. So let me just plug it in and check it out. Oh dear. No vertical. Ow! There's a number of cracked connections down here I should really look at and redo between the power supply and the main board. Just giving this an inspection. I'm sure there's probably, more than likely there's a resistor that's open as well, because when that IC went, it more than likely shorted. But I'm just going through everything that could possibly, like this, these connections here look really bad. If I put the flashlight on there, does it show up better on camera now? But they're cracked. So I got to redo those. We'll redo all those connections. I'm going to go over the board and just give it a good once over. And again, I'm looking to see if there's any open fusible resistors on here, because there's a good chance that when that IC failed, it opened a resistor on the circuit. I don't have a schematic for this one, so I don't know whether the vertical gets its supply from the power supply or whether it's driving it off the flyback. Most sets derived off the flyback, but the fact this one's got a separate power supply, it may be pulling the vertical right off of its own supply. Anyway, gonna double check all those first. Alright, just doing some looking and tracing the circuitry on the bottom side. Following the traces, I actually had to remove some of this. It's not really a chassis support, so to speak. The chassis supports are here where it's screwed down, the board's screwed down. But I had to remove a section here just so that I could trace it, because it's impossible. You lose sight of the traces that are under here. So it goes down this way and ends up down here next to this regulator, next to this transistor, whatever it is. There's a resistor down here. Get a close-up of it, and if we look at it, it looks like it's burned. I'm going to check it and see, but this resistor right down here right next to Q754. There's a resistor. That resistor there looks like it's kind of been a little bit toasty. And I think that's probably where our voltage is fed in from for the vertical circuit. So let's just check that resistor and see if it's open, which I'm sure that it is. And it is indeed open. So let's pull that resistor, replace it, and then I will try the set and see if it works. Of course, my camera's not focusing there, but you know what I'm getting at. So let's pull our 463. And hopefully this gets the TV working, because I want to go watch the football game. It started. I'm switching back and forth because I'm using my monitor here for viewing the camera. So I'm kind of switching back and forth between shots, putting on the CFL semifinal that BC is playing in, and the camera. So let's just get this part pulled out of here. Toasty. That's my, I got another light here. I don't use this one very often, right? But I've been even using this magnifier light here on this one, just to see what I'm doing. I'll even bring my little resistor calculator in here, just for fun. It's brown, black, gold. Turn that on. Mode. Resistor. This is for 5 ring. I'm going to switch it to 4. Okay, and it was brown, black, gold, gold. It's 1 ohm resistor. Duh. But I just wanted to show that off. That's that little kit I built. I didn't show how to change it between 5 and 4 band. That's the button there. But yeah, I figured I would show this off again because it's kind of neat, you know. For the $10 that this thing costs, this is a little calculator that should be on everyone's workbench. Even if you just use it for doing your color codes that you should know, right? I don't want to use the phrase, well, maybe I will because someone's already said it, but I'll do the politically correct version of it. Black boys race our young girls, but violet generally wins. That was the phrase that I was taught. Well, actually, no, it was a little more racy than that, but for politically correctness, we won't make it any worse than that. But there was a more raunchy version of that. That was what we used to remember the color codes. But now you got a calculator, you don't even need to do that. You just punch it in and it tells you what the value is. Anyway, let me find a 1 ohm resistor and we'll pop that in and check it out, make sure it works. At 1.1 ohm, that should be close enough, as they say. You can even see on the board when it popped, it burned a little section of the board. Little pop mark right in the middle, a black section there. Speaking of burning, we had another power outage last night thanks to a storm. Blowing trees down. Not in my neighborhood, but like close to the substation. Some trees got blown into the wires and knocked our power out for a couple of hours last night. Lots of fun. I was almost ready to crack out the power stations and start plugging stuff in, but I figured I'd go out and see where the problem was, and went out with my flashlight and took a drive around and just drove the lines. And didn't take long to find a branch into the primary. And then the crew comes out because they get dispatched right away. We all have smart meters now, so when the power goes out, they know about it before anybody can even pick up the phone. So the crew gets dispatched right away, and by the time I drove the line, the crew was already there fixing it. The guy goes up in the bucket and hauls off a branch from the primary, and I saw that. I saw the guy coming down from the bucket as I was driving by, and by the time I got home, they'd thrown the switch back on and reset the breaker. Because literally I saw the guy, I drove by him as he was getting out of his bucket. And as he was taking, like he was just taking his coveralls off as he was getting out of the bucket, and I got about a block away, and then all of a sudden, poof, all the street lights come on. And of course, everything now is LEDs, so they come on instantly. None of this flickering and waiting for the lights to warm up. They just throw the switch and on go the lights, as they say. All right, I think I'm going to try this now and see whether I have deflection. I'm relatively confident that I will. Ah, damn, I fixed it. Alright, I'm going to check the ESR on some of those caps now. See how they look. Because some of the ones in the vertical circuit generally can cause failures. I didn't see any fold up on the I didn't show you guys the raster because I got to turn the set around for that. Trust me, it's working. It's got a blue screen. Got to check a couple of caps. And then we'll turn it around and give you guys a picture off it. But I do have deflection, so vertical output IC and that one resistor is all that was wrong, and a couple bad connections that I soldered up. But we'll check those caps out. There's a couple of them that are known for causing problems, although this one had a cracked solder connection, so that very well could have been what blew this thing up, because the connection that was cracked was pin 2. A little schematic here of the IC. Had to draw that up myself. Pin 2 is the output. So that certainly, with that going bad, that would have caused the yoke to be going on and offline, because arcing, that could have cooked the IC. But we'll check some of the caps out and just see how they look. And anything that looks to be a little bit questionable, I'll change out. There's a couple small ones that give problems, and they're small, like 100 microfarads, 16 volt, and so forth. So I'll check them out and see how they look. Anything that's questionable, I'll change. I know someone's going to make a comment that I'm working on this with my watch on. Yeah, I'm not energizing it with my hand anywhere near the set, so don't worry about me. I do know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for over 40 years. I think I know how to mitigate risk when working around circuits. The set's on an isolation transformer, and now it's not plugged in while I'm working on it. I'm touching away at the board, but I'm not going to get a shock because it's not plugged in. Everything's discharged. The CRT up here might hold a bit of a charge, but I'm also not sticking my fingers into the high voltage circuitry, so and around the Cobra, as we called it. So don't worry about me. I'm not going to get a shock. I'm going to check C451, which is a small cap, and we're going to pull it out of the circuit to check it. And probably change it out because it's a small one. This is one that does cause problems. It's a 2.2 at 50 volts. This guy right there. And let's just check the ESR and see how it looks. 2.2 at 50 volts should be, well, I mean, between 8 and 10. So we may be okay on this. Meter's been zeroed out. You know, it's measuring 2.5. So there's nothing wrong with that cap. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't need to change that one out. That's fine. And it is a high temperature cap. Some of the earlier sets they used a 85 degree in there, and that was problematic. That caused them to overheat. This is a 105. I don't see any sign of any leakage or anything on here, so I think this one's okay. So I'm going to put this one back in, and I'll check this next door neighbor. I'm going to check the pump up capacitor now, which is off of pin 7 of the IC. Yeah, light get into position. Light does not want to cooperate with me today. Get it out of the way. Don't need it here. Just checking the ESR on the other caps in circuit, and they're looking fine. Right, 0.2, 0.1. Right, none of these caps have any problems. So I'm going to put the board back in on this one, and we'll turn it around and I'll show you guys the picture. And that's the plasma I fixed the other day that had the cracked solder on the capacitor in the power supply. It's still going strong. Move this out of the way. To give you an idea how much light my big HMI light, which is some metal halide, but it's the same as an HMI, but to give you an idea how much this light this throws in here, I'll show you the light first of all, and then I'll kill it. Like, that is a bright bloody light. I'll tell you that much. 400 watts is what this one draws. If I kill all the rest of the lights, that's the only one on here. I'll put the other lights back on, and I'll shut this one down just so you guys can see how much this light lights up the shop. As you can see, it's a brute, but it also helps heat the place. I can't run this one in the summer because it gets too hot, but in the winter, or when it's getting cool out, it's not so bad because it actually helps heat the place up. It throws off so much heat. It's like I've been under a sun lamp. Okay, I'm going to turn this around and I'll hook up a source to it. We'll take a look at the picture. Okay, that's one of those videos you can get off of YouTube just of the bad weather. So let's look at color bars. See how the color bars look. Color bars aren't looking too bad. I'm just using my HDV deck, which has an internal color bar generator. Let's get that info off the screen. So when you're setting up color bars, I don't know how it's going to come across on camera, but our black levels are a little bit too high. So first thing we do is we do a factory reset. So go to Action, and we're going to go up to, whoops, Picture Normal. And we're going to normalize the picture. Okay, so now this is factory setting. If we look down here in the grayscale, it's a little too bright. It's hard to tell with all the lights on it here, but it looks like the screen control is a little too high. I'm going to kill some lights in here, just so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, that's better. So, I'm going to get a close-up into this area. This is how you set up your black levels and so forth on a TV. And I know that I got the rolling shutter is causing a bit of an issue there. So just trying to frame it up a bit better. Ultimately, what we want to do is there are 3 shades of gray in this area of the tube, in this area here. These 2 should be slightly visible. This one should not. And it might not be coming across on camera that well, but I can see some retrace lines here in the picture. Again, probably not showing up on camera, but they are there. And that's because the screen is set too high. So the tube is being overdriven. So we're going to back the screen down a bit, and that'll bring the black levels down. And we want to be able to just barely see these 2 bars, because this should be at 0, and actually this is below 0. This is at 7.5 IRE. This is at 0 IRE, 7.5, 10, and I think that's 12. Anyway, so I'm just going to reach around to the back of the TV here and electrocute myself. I'm going to get to the flyback transformer, and I'm going to get to the screen adjustment, which is, I think, the lower one, if I'm not mistaken. There it is. Okay, you see, if it's too bright, you're going to see too much black information. So I'm going to dim this down to the point where just these 2 are ever so slightly visible. This bar here should blend into the background. And now it is. You can just barely see these 2 bars, which is what you want. That's got a damn good picture, you know? I mean, that has a fantastic picture. Like, that's beautiful, that picture. Wow. You're getting the dot crawl, right? Because it's not an S-video signal, it's a composite, so that's going to be the interference between the chroma and the luminance. Like, damn, that's got a good picture. Like, this CRT is in really good shape. You know, I would say that this set probably has not got many hours on it, because that picture is just fantastic. I'm going to put some video on here from a DV tape, or even maybe an HDV tape. I'll dig up a tape. I can play either. Obviously HDV is going to look better, but let's just take a look at some playback off of this set. I'll just zoom this out a bit. We'll take a look at the playback. Now, this is the raw footage shot with a DCR VX1000. It looks like DV footage. What can I say? I got a couple of other tapes here. This is a high definition one here, so it should look a little better. But that's a DV tape, and maybe when I fast forward a bit. It's got the typical weak colors that DV had. You know, as good as digital video was, it wasn't really great in the chroma department. And that was just due to the subsampling. It was a 411 color space that they used on DV. So this is this should be an HDV tape, this one. I'm not playing any sound off of this. I don't have the sound hooked up. What? Don't tell me this thing's going to start giving me headaches. Every so often this machine does this. And you just take the tape out and put it back in, and usually it will work. There we go. Yeah, that's a HDV. This is my aquarium. Nice and colorful. That I shot on, this would have been shot on HDR FX1, which is a 3-chip camera. But yeah, this one here, as you can see, I don't even, it probably is showing up on camera as well. the colors are much more saturated off of HDV. Besides the fact that it's a 1080 program. If you look at it on the little monitor here, the little screen on here looks fantastic. See if I can zoom that in. It'll look better off this than it will off the CRT, that's for sure. That's off the LCD. And it is full high definition. But the CRT looks as good as a NTSC, 525 line system is going to look. It's respectable, that's for sure. Anyway, I just hooked the DV deck up here so I could put up color bars so I could calibrate the picture, make it look proper. When it was brought in, the brightness and the contrast and everything was cranked up to 100%. It looked horrible when I first fired it up. Terrible. I didn't show you guys the picture when I first fired it up, but it was all washed out. Like it was when it was brought in, it was like this. If I go to, where are we here? The color was, first of all, cranked all the way up like this, and then the brightness was turned all the way up. It was like that when it was brought in. I guess that's what mode. And the picture wasn't cranked up all the way. The picture was kind of like that. But this is how it was set when it came in. And well, that just won't let it. And the sharpness was turned all the way down to minimum too. That just won't let the picture look as good as it should. And the chroma is still a little high on here. Where are we here? I just go back to the factory setting. Oops. There we go. That's how it comes from the shop. So that's how I set it up so that it's going to look as good as I think it can. I'm going to try touching up the focus here a little bit, see if we can sharpen that up just a smidge. Nope, that's it. That's as sharp as it gets. It's not looking too bad. Okay, I think it's fair to say this one's fixed. I'll throw this one together and get it out of here so I have some space. And here it is. Just playing content off my cable box. Looks great.
Steps of Alexander the Great and Caesar.
Anyway, this one's all done. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
November 22nd.